I was adopted when I was, I think, a couple months old. I didn't know my real name till I was in my 30s. And this is called Ghost Daddies. When I was a girl, I was a boy, with black boots and holster and a basketball hoop in the backyard. My reach was endless. I was birthed in a meteor shower, and all the stars knew my name. Ever since, I've been on street corners with gym crack men you wouldn't want to know, making myself a luminary. I had this piece of paper. Took years to get it, the story before the story changed, before the government got their hands on it. I've been told. My first father was a millionaire. His name on my birth certificate, voice on the phone, his lame-ass answer. I didn't come inside her. I was the small voice asking. He was the hammer coming down, shattering me into shooting stars. I covered my bedroom ceiling with planets, prayed for a meteor hit to bury the house. My second father was a hockey player who fucked my mother when she was 20. I drove to Boston to meet him, armed with her picture. He didn't remember her. I was a professional athlete, he said. There were a lot of women. His green eyes burned familiar, and I thought he was a good man. Then 2 weeks later, he said, no, he didn't think he could be my father. I decided I've come from a long line of cowards, men who can only stand up if they're fucking, flaccid after that. Sometimes the earth moves in my dreams with lies about my past. I was bent on ruination, drugs for lunch and dinner with some dope in between. My face, the face of no father, unrecognizable. So why not? I was the immaculate cum shot. I was the wildly surviving thing, racing after ghost daddies in dreams. Dear Father, whoever you are, I hope the sex was ravenous, with cross-checking, slashing. I hope there were slats of light everywhere to see my star on the other side. So we were talking in class about accessing varied information, and are things we don't want to talk about, don't want to think about. And I was trying to write these birth father poems, and it was really hard because I had met him one time, and I did find out that he was the hockey player, that he was my birth father. He played for the Pittsburgh Hornets, the New York Rangers, the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was won 3 Stanley Cups. And he had the most postseason penalties in the NHL. And he liked to fight. And if you knew me, you know, I get into a lot of fights. And I used to get in physical fights, not anymore. But, and I started out in phys ed in college. And my parents were like, what are you doing? You're hitting everything all the time. But then when I found out, it kind of made sense. So I thought I would take a train from Toronto to Jasper, across Canada, stop in Winnipeg where he was born, to find him. I thought, not physically, but just psychically, to find him. So I did that. I took the train, and crazy things started happening on the train. And his nickname was Wild Bill because of all the fighting, and I swear that this happened. So I was looking out the window of the train, and I saw this brown house with this white sign on the side that said Wild Bill. And there was this guy on the porch, this young guy without a shirt. He had long hair. He was drying his hair. And he was looking right at the train. And I said, that's him. This is called Visitation at Gogama. No shirt, was drying his long hair with a towel and staring at the train. He looked about 30. I saw my birth father, young and alive. He stepped out of a brown house with a white sign on the side. Wild Bill, his nickname, in big block letters. I saw him the way he was before he made me, beautiful and astonishing in his maleness. I tell you, this is my family tree. No noble phrases, no graveyards on the hill, just visitations. Now pieces of discarded track, explosion of purple wildflowers along the side, solid wall of rock 5 feet from the train, then a river, bridge, floating leaves that look like giant lily pads. Is that possible? We're approaching the town of Gogama, Ontario, small railroad town, erased by the diesel engine. There's a bar called Restaurant Tavern, and a meat market called Meat Market, and a motel called Motel. No other names. In this place of no naming, or maybe first naming, I decide I'll call myself Bastard. It's plain and accurate. You can count on it. We approach a signal. A woman in a black tank top with killer arms slouches in a gray Buick Century at the crossing, and a modified gangster lean. I decide I love her. Call her free.